Hi everyone, it's Lynnea. I'm back with another video using the Students of Magic stamp set from Kindred Stamps. And today I'm going to be making 3 clean and simple one-layer cards using some watercolor. And they're all going to use the same format and the same idea. So to start out here, I'm using the sentiment that says, "I will always be there for you," and the little owl image. And the idea for these cards started with this in particular. I have the little feather stamp now, and I'm using my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I wanted to have this cascading effect of the feathers falling down from the top right corner and just kind of circling around that owl a little bit, but really I wanted them to look like they were falling from the top to the bottom. And this is a technique that I do a lot because I just like having things concentrated on one side of the card but kind of scattering over a little bit. So you're going to see the sentiment reaches over to the left a little bit and there's that one feather. So that was kind of the idea for these 3 cards. Now I am moving on to the "I love you more than socks" sentiment. And I took my scissors and I cut it in half after the "I love you." And this is perfectly okay to do as long as you just cut the acrylic or the photopolymer rather than cutting through the letters. So I cut in between the U and in between the M, and you can see it stamped just perfectly. And this way I could stack up the sentiment so that I could keep things over to the right of the card rather than having it stretch all the way across. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing with the socks, and I'm going to have them look like they're falling from the top to the bottom. Again, using my VersaFine ink so that I can go over it with clear embossing powder because I plan to watercolor. And so that's why I use my VersaFine ink, because it stays wet for a little bit and I can add clear powder, and that really helps me keep my embossing contained. All right, so I'm going to do one last card, and I almost didn't do this card because I didn't have, the other cards had like a little image and then a focal image, and I didn't have that for this card, but this actually ended up being my favorite one, and I always think that's funny when the one you aren't going to do turns out to be your favorite. So I'm starting out with my Sakura Koi watercolor, and this is just the pocket sketch box. I think that there's 24 colors. But these colors mix together really well. As you can see, I'm kind of mixing up a fleshy tone here. And that's one of the reasons why I tend to watercolor more than I do coloring with markers, is because I'm not good at coloring. I kind of fake it till I make it, but with watercolors, I can mix and I can blend colors to make them look the way I want them in my head. I have a hard time blending markers together and choosing the right colors, so watercolor for me is just easier, so that's what I stick to. So I have this gray, I've watered it down a little bit, and I'm going to fill in the heel and the toe and the tops of the sock. And I almost went with red, and I kind of wish that I had for just a pop of color, but this whole trio of cards, my idea is to make them so they're good for boys, really, boys or girls. I want to be able to send more cards to the men in my life. My husband, I have brothers, and I always tend to make girly cards. Even though I'm not a super girly person, I make cards for girls more than I make cards for guys. So I tried to keep these colors more in the neutral color palette so that I could send them to the guys in my life. So I'm just kind of watercoloring along here. I have super watered down a gray here so that it's very light, and I'm just watercoloring just one little line along the curve of the top of the sock. That gives me just a tad bit of shadow so that the sock itself still appears white, but like it has some shading to it. So I wanted to do a snowy owl here. So I'm coloring the feathers to be a light gray. Then I colored in the rest of the owl with my watercolors. And now for this last one, I'm using my Ganzi Tambi Starry Colors watercolor palette. These colors are metallic and shimmery, and they're so pretty. So, but you do have to get them wet first to kind of activate that color. So I'm going to be using the white gold, the yellow gold, and just a tad bit of the red gold. I'm going to paint the wings here with the white gold, and it says white gold, but you know, it's like a perfect little, not quite silver, but like a white metallic, and it makes those wings super pretty. I added just a bit of the red gold to that little dot on top, and then I'm coloring the rest of it with the yellow gold. And I'm gonna kind of show you that shimmer here. You're gonna be able to see it better at the end of the video. I'm gonna show you again once it's dry. So here we go. Let's take a look at all three of the cards that I made. Here's the owl one, the one that inspired this whole trio of cards. I think it's so cute how the feathers look like they're falling down. Same thing with the socks. They're kind of going every which way, and I just love it. And you can see that little bit of shadow on the socks. Now I'm going to show you the shine from this last card, my favorite one. The embossing is shiny, the paint is shiny, it's just perfect. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can head over to my blog to see all the still photos and find more information. Bye!